Now, the claim that the chief has made, it doesn't stand to scrutiny at all. There are far too many gaps, and there are far too many things, and it all appears that this is a last minute instruction given to the chief by somebody, that you please include this in your talk that you are giving there. And why I'm saying that is because if you see the original press release, normally what happens is that the service headquarters, they send the talk of the chief to the MOD, to the Ministry of Defense, the people who release the release, take out the release. So it was must have been sent there. This was not included in that. So this is something which was told to him perhaps as an afterthought, and he was mulling over it. Because if you see, this is the last thing that he spoke. He spoke in all the damages that he mentioned. This was the last item, whereas this should have been the first one. If really, this is what it was. Well, you see, there are two things here. One is now, recently there is a book that has come out of the Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, and one of the themes that he has discussed in his book is what is civil-military relations. Now, in a traditional sense, when we talk of civil-military relations, it means is that all the resources of the country, the civil resources and the military resources, they are put together. But he defined it in an entirely different way, and he said what this means is that professionalism of the military, that should be integrated with the political ideologies. Now you see, this is an entirely new thinking. So this confirms something that I had suspected all along. Even when General Bipin Rawat was made the first CDS, it didn't make sense to me, but that's a different question. Should you want to know the answer, I can answer that. Because the point is, he was kept in there because ideologically he was aligned with the government, and therefore they picked up this General Chauhan had retired as a 3-star. They brought him back as a 4-star. So this is what I think it is after having read his definition of civil-military relationship. So the government is not doing things directly. So this was conveyed through the CDS. That is the point I am making, is because you see, the political leadership doesn't understand the nuances of the military. So when we talk of the rules of engagement, it was conveyed through which is why this is important, which is why they said that this was a tri-service operation headed by the Chief of Defence Staff. Now he said that all these 5 planes, they were shot by the S-400. Now S-400 is a very good system, very versatile, and it has a detection range of 600 kilometers. What that means is that even if there is a small aircraft, it can certainly detect the aircraft at 300 or 400 kilometers, and all the targets that the Air Chief was talking about, they were within 300 kilometers. So if indeed this has happened, I mean, I'm not saying that it has not happened. All I'm saying is that where is the evidence? You should identify and tell the people of India and the world that, okay, 5 fighter planes, what are their types? Were they J-10s? Were they JF-17s? Were they F-16s? I mean, this is something you would know. The command, the entire Air Force looks up to the chief. He is the man, and he must retain the respect of the command. Because if that respect is lost, these are the things that lead to command breakdown. Indiscipline in the command, that is my worry, that when a chief says something, any chief, and the people inside the service, they know what is the truth. So that leads to losing respect for the chief. I mean, this is a big worry because all these air warriors, let alone the air warriors, I mean, after all, we know that this naval officer, he is also aware of that, because within the services, you know what's going on. The second part is, the more service becomes, military becomes ideologically driven, the less competent it would be. I mean, these are the examples of that. Well, there is a bit of a pattern with the government, and that pattern is that whenever they are under pressure, and right now they are under tremendous pressure both within the country and within the country primarily because of Rahul Gandhi. Because Rahul Gandhi has taken up a subject which is exposing the election commission's wrongdoing, and it's a very big thing. So they are under pressure, there's no doubt about it. So in my assessment, this is about deflecting from that issue. Why they have brought in the air chief is because this is something that Rahul Gandhi had spoken in the parliament, and now they brought in the air chief to basically respond to Rahul Gandhi. But what Rahul Gandhi said is entirely different. There has to be evidence. No evidence has been shown. What were the type of aircrafts, the fighters that were brought down? That has not been spelled out. And then, you see, a very simple thing is that today there are at least four big countries, I'm including EU in that, who have round the clock visibility. They have global satellite constellations. And America is one of them, Russia is another, China is another, and EU is another. So people know the reality. You see, it is basically, in my assessment, this whole thing of chief coming and saying all this is to assuage the feelings of the Indians. Because the worry is that the image of the government should not come down in the eyes of the Indians. That is what matters.